Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today.
Stick Heisman has been called. It's the stick of Marty McSorley.
Welcome to Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast with your host, Scott Kinville. Let's hop on that Zamboni time machine and go back in time to look at hockey's glorious history.
And what's up, hockey fans? And we are finally back with Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast, right here on the Sports History Network. You know, it's been a couple of weeks, Ed. We've both been dealing with some sickness. So,
yeah, COVID kicked my ass.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. But me too. I tell you, I still not feeling right. But you know what? We're over it. We're testing. We're good, and that's it. And no more to talk about that.
Speak for yourself. I'm liking the days off.
Yeah, right. But anyways, you know, since we've been taking this little sabbatical, if you will, there's been some changes. The Sports History Network is now partnered up with Home Field Apparel. I don't know if you noticed when I came on, I got this super cool shirt I'm wearing here. It's my old cool Colgate Raiders shirt. Wow. What Home Field Apparel does is they specialize in vintage college apparel. And I'll tell you, this is such a comfortable shirt, man. You wouldn't believe how comfortable this is. I could wear it every day.
Hey, Home Field, 3X, toss them my way.
There you go, right? Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, if you do want to order your own Home Field Apparel shirt, it's real easy. You just go to homefieldapparel.com, enter in the promo code SportsHistory, and you can get 15% off your order.
15%?
15%. Yeah.
Damn, that's a good chunk.
Yeah. So that's definitely check it out. If you're into college apparel, especially vintage college apparel, check it out. Yeah. All right. So anyways, pal, we're back. We are back and ready to go. So last time we talked about the all-time Hartford Whaler Carolina Hurricanes.
Yes.
And I noticed you have your Carolina Hurricanes jersey on for the occasion.
Yeah, it's the only
one episode late, but that's
all right. It's the only clean thing I got right now.
So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with that WHA theme, because I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I know a lot of people refer to the original six as the golden era of hockey.
Yeah.
But for me, you know what? Maybe it's just because of when I grew up. I always tended to think of the golden age for me is when those four WHA teams came into the league in 1979, and that whole era of the 80s right up until, you know, when they went through the multiple expansions in the mid-90s into the 2000s and all that. But like that 15-year window for me was just glorious.
Yeah, I honestly, to me, that golden era starts at like 1967 when they started really expanding the league.
Yeah.
With the WHA, the introduction of the WHA teams, the Oilers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, and the Jets. That was the pinnacle of hockey. Those were the best years. Oh yeah, I mean, and you know what? You actually have a great point with the so-called second six in 1967 when those teams came in. You're right. I just wasn't alive. So for me, having just what personally I've witnessed, like I said, the 80s into the 90s was such a fantastic time for hockey. So today we are going to talk about the all-time Quebec Nordiques and Colorado Avalanche team. Yes.
So, you know, we had talked about this a little bit before. We were like, well, should we include the Nordiques or just do the Avalanche? What do we want to do? And you know what? You're right. The Nordiques and the Avalanche are just they're interchangeable.
They really are, and you're going to find out that there's a lot of the greatest players on one were also a part of the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like you really can't have the Colorado Avalanche, especially those championship years, without the Nordiques.
No, you know what? You're right, because, and honestly, I always felt so bad for the fans in Quebec City. I really did, because here they suffered through some terrible years up there.
Yeah.
The team just couldn't get out of its own way. They were so loyal and they were so faithful to them. And then they finally start turning it around like into the early 90s. And then they moved to Quebec. They moved to Denver to become the Colorado Avalanche, and they win the cup that season.
It's funny how that works too, because like would Quebec have won the cup that year?
I think so.
Who did they play in the finals?
They played the Florida Panthers.
Then they probably would have ended up winning the cup. But that second cup against New Jersey,
Oof.
they would not have won that second cup if they were still in Quebec. They would have.
You don't think so?
No.
Really?
That New Jersey team, what was it, 01? Oh, the 01 New Jersey team was so good.
Yeah, but why would it have made a difference if they were in Colorado or Quebec?
Because they would have had to have played them in the Eastern Conference Finals, then they would have, even if they got out of there, even if they made it to the finals, they would have been dog tired for the finals.
Okay, that's valid. I had to think about that for a second, but you're right. I mean, they did it. They ended up switching conferences and everything. I thought maybe you were going to tell me something about Patrick Waugh or something like that. To which point, I always said that even if they stayed in Quebec, Patrick Waugh would have gone to the Nordiques in a heartbeat just to get back to the Canadians.
Oh, in a heartbeat. Easily.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I'm here for that. I would,
right?
I would love to see another team in Quebec show up just so the Canadians just have to deal with Patrick Waugh having to be a part of that team.
Yeah, right. Could you imagine that?
Oh.
Could you imagine some team moves to Quebec or somehow they have another expansion? Patrick Waugh becomes general manager or something like that. That'd be insane.
There's obviously talks. Like there's been talks in the NHL, and these are all just the rumors I've heard. Arizona, because they switched divisions, they're now in the Central Division.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of making way for their easy move to either Houston, Kansas City, or even go to Quebec and move Detroit back to the Central.
Right. Because, I'll tell you, not to get too sidetracked, and I know Detroit geographically is an Eastern team, but I've always thought of the Detroit Red Wings as a Western Conference team.
Life. I've been Western my whole life. And plus, let's face it, I miss that 90s rivalry, that Detroit, Colorado, that Detroit, Chicago.
Detroit, St. Louis.
St. Louis, Detroit, Vancouver.
Yeah.
And it always, like the NHL, this is how messed up it used to be. It was like Toronto at one point in my lifetime was in the Western Conference.
Yeah, right. Well, they were always in the Western Conference for me, and I'm 48 years old.
It's weird because it's 5 hours away from us.
Right.
It's 5 hours away from us, and it's in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they're in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah,
but you just think of them as a Western team. Insanity.
Yeah, no, I've always thought of them as an Eastern team. I grew up with the Bruins. The heart of my life so far has been Bruins Maple Leafs rivalry, Bruins Canadians rivalry. So it's been good.
Yeah.
I like them where they are.
But yeah, I would imagine. But you know what? I would just still love to see that whole Norris division get revitalized.
Yeah, I think they need to go back to the old names.
Oh yeah. Oh, I agree.
Adams, Norris,
totally agree.
Campbell,
the Smythe.
Smythe. They need to go back to.
Yeah.
They need to go back to that.
They're so unique. It was great, but
yeah, because what do they got? NFC East in football, and the AL East in baseball. Let's get rid of the East and Metropolitan. Let's go back to naming them after old guys.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I totally agree.
The Vezina division, revamp it a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Go the Howe division, the Lindsay division, the Gretzky division, or whatever you want to call it.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. The Orr division, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. You know what? Hopefully Gary Bettman will listen to this someday.
Gary Bettman is the most bland person. If Gary Bettman was a sex position, he'd be missionary.
Jeez. Okay, you know what? We're going to stop that because I'll never be able to unsee that again in my entire life.
Gary Bettman looks like he eats Raisin Brands dry.
Okay, yes, exactly.
The guy looks like a bowl of oatmeal. Get a new face as the commissioner of the league. I've seen every sport has had a change of commissioner in my lifetime. Baseball's had a couple, basketball's had a couple, football's had at least one. Where's hockey? Why do I have to deal with Gary Bettman? Why can't he just retire? Retire.
You know what? Let me tell you something.
Money. Go retire.
I vote for you to be the next commissioner of the NHL.
Listen, I would be the worst commissioner of the NHL.
Oh boy.
I wouldn't, there would be, the players would have all the rights. The owners would hate me.
Yeah, you'd be fired within 2 weeks.
I'd look at Jeremy Jacobs and tell him to eat my shorts.
Oh, well, you know what? We can always dream, right?
Yes.
But anyways, why don't we get back to the matter at hand here? Because we were talking about the Avalanche and the Nordiques. And you know how this best of the best series works. I mean, if you've been watching Marty's Illegal Stick, you know it by now. Our best of the best series is we rank these players by all-star teams. You know how they do like the first team all-star, second team all-star. We do honorable mentions. We include coaches. We don't screw around here at Marty's Legal Stick.
Yep.
So, without further ado, you, the listener, are going to hear mine and Ed's all-time Colorado Avalanche, Quebec Nordiques teams, and we are going to start with the honorable mentions. Ed, go ahead and lead us off.
Okay, my first honorable mention, and I know he doesn't meet your criteria.
Well, I did kind of forget to mention that because it's been a while. Yeah, I prefer at least 3 seasons.
3 seasons. Well, he doesn't meet your criteria, but Ray Bourque.
Okay, well, I mean, he did win a couple of them, so
his number's retired.
I knew you were going to say that. So.
His number's retired.
Yeah, well, of course.
His number's retired with Colorado. Like, what better player to have played 2 seasons for a team, right off into the sunset with his first Stanley Cup, and just get his number retired immediately after? For only being there for what? Less than 150 games?
Right.
You know? But other than that, like Ray Bourque, this guy here is going to be changing within the next 5 to 10 years. Nathan MacKinnon. He's only an honorable mention right now, but he's gonna be changing.
A lot of great centers in this franchise history.
Well, he's a winger, isn't he?
Well, he's actually considered a center. Because he's normally centers up the Landeskog Ratnan line, but he. All right, we got a second co-host.
Hi, look at this.
Yes.
I'm on the TV.
We're live too.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Really, you are all over the internet now.
You ass.
I'll hear about it later.
See, you know what? Hey, you got to be careful when you're photobombing people.
Yep. You never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
So yes, Nathan MacKinnon right now is just an honorable mention, but future is going to show that he is going to be on a team at one of these top 2 in the future.
Okay.
Next one I have is Dan Heino.
Ooh, interesting.
Dan Heino, just a solid player all around. Somebody who like stood out in my childhood. Yeah. Always like somebody who I always tried to model my game after, always in the right place at the right time, knew how to play hockey properly. Just somebody who really like molded me as a player growing up.
He was always one of those solid bottom 6 players that could slot into the top 6 if need be, injuries or whatever.
Yeah. He was, and this is back in the day where they had like checking line and things like that. He was just perfect for that checking line.
Sure.
My next one is Chris Drury.
Okay.
Won his only cup with Colorado, suck it Rangers, and he just overall like it was the start of his great career. I mean, he future captain of the Sabres, GM of the Rangers, and I think he was the captain of the Rangers for a minute, wasn't he?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, like towards the end of his playing career,
right?
But it doesn't start. He doesn't get to that level without starting in Colorado under Mark Crawford.
Okay.
Next one I have is Chris Dingman. Just another player who I grew up idolizing.
I tell you are reaching, my friend.
I'm not. Just a player that I actually really like. I actually really like Chris Dingman because like he just a hard-nosed guy.
Yeah, sure.
Darcy Kemper for right now. I mean, I think he only had 1 season with the team.
Yeah, he won the cup though.
But Cups talk.
Yeah.
Next one, who's also going to be changing soon in the next 5 to 10 years, Devon Taves.
Solid D. Solid 2-way D.
He's going to be moving up this list soon.
Yeah.
Next one, and I don't really see him having much more of a career after this, but Eric Johnson.
Yeah, I had him on my honorable mentions too.
I think Eric Johnson is a solid player. I mean, it sucks that he's going to be considered a quote-unquote draft bust, but he's not. He's a really
Not
good
really.
player.
You know why he's going to be considered a draft bust? Because he went number 1 overall.
Exactly.
Had he gone in just like the first round, nobody would even be talking like that.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be talking about him like that. And honestly, like, he's going to be considered a draft bust. He's going to be put on the same page as Nail Yakupov. No way.
No
way.
No, nothing gets that bad.
You're going to give him the same title as Yakupov? No, he's not a bust. He just happened to be the best of the worst draft.
Right.
And then my last one is Scott Parker, because every team needs a tough guy.
Okay.
And my honorable mention coach is Patrick Waugh.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Colorado has always been a tough team.
Yeah.
Like a physically tough team. So I try to inject a little bit of toughness into it.
Yeah, that's they. You know what? They always have been, and it's funny because it's like I told you. I got Eric Johnson on my list too, and I always kind of felt bad for Eric Johnson because there are players that are great players that played for Colorado, but they suffered through some horrible years, just like the Quebec teams did. And Eric Johnson happens to be one of them.
Yeah,
everybody now knows that Colorado's this wagon of a powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of gets forgotten that not even 4 or 5 years ago, they were the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've done a tremendous job of turning things around. I've got this franchise, believe it or not.
She hunched back a Notre Dame past the camera. Just straight Quasimodo. I love it.
Oh man. But this franchise has been around for 43 years.
Yeah.
Which is hard to believe. And that is just NHL time. That's not counting the WHA time, which we don't count the WHA stats for this because you're just opening up a can of worms that, who wants to get into that? But anyways, I'll just run down mine because I get carried away with this honorable mention stuff.
Yeah.
So, because I'm just so anal about breaking down by positions. Yeah. So my 2 centers are Nate McKinnon and Peter Forsberg.
Ooh.
Peter Forsberg. And you'll see why later on. If there is one thing that this franchise has always had, it's a lot of great centers.
Yeah.
So they're very deep at center. So I know it's hard to imagine Peter Forsberg being an honorable mention, but you'll see why in a little bit.
Actually, I did forget one person on my honorable mentions list, and that's Peter Stastny.
There you go. Well, see? Now, it's hard for me to imagine Peter Stastny being an honorable mention. So there you go. There you go. Well, yeah, Cups talk, but we'll argue about this in just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll argue about it.
We'll argue about this.
We'll argue.
All right. My left wings are Anton Stastny, now that you mentioned the Stasnys, and Alex Tanguay.
Yes.
Alex Tanguay was a key part a lot of those cup wins in the early 2000s. But again, depth is depth. And we will see that there have been actually quite a few fantastic left wings that have come out of the Colorado Avalanche, Quebec Nordiques.
So many.
Yeah.
Just an offensive wagon year after year. Like, even their bad players are good. Like, look at Matt Duchene. Like, he's a great player, but, like, he can't get his head out of his ass.
Well, you know what? You could actually throw Val Kaminsky into that pile, too, for left wings.
Yeah.
My right wings, your head's probably going to explode when I say this. Mikko Rantanen is on an honorable mention right now. Now, he's going to move up, like you were just saying earlier.
Yes.
But for me right now, that ceiling is still there.
Oh, the ceiling's – he hasn't even touched it yet.
That's what I mean. So, but when he's all said and done, yeah, he'll definitely be in the top 2 teams.
I didn't even bother. Like, there are some players on this team, on this current Colorado team, I didn't even want to put on the honorable mentions list because it was such a layup, like Mikko Rantanen.
Right.
Like, to me, he is an honorable mention, but, like, we all know that. We all know where he's going to be if he stays healthy.
There was a couple other right wings, too. There was Adam Deadmarsh. Ooh. Always loved Adam Deadmarsh.
Ooh, I forgot about Adam Deadmarsh.
Yeah. Another one of those just great player, great international player for Team USA, too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Real Cloutier. Ooh. Had a lot of big WHA stats, but he still produced when they first came into the NHL into the early 80s.
Yes.
However, it's kind of hard to differentiate his WHA stats with his NHL stats. So I said, you're an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Again, we share Eric Johnson as a D. My goaltender was Dan Bouchard. Because you know what? When I was going through the stats for this franchise, the goaltending is not good at all.
Yes. You have one.
For the most part. So
you have one.
I'm like, if I got to throw a dart here, I guess it's going to be him.
You could have really put Philip Grubauer. You could have put
that's what I mean.
Like to me, Darcy Kemper because he got the cup, but
right, even though he was only there one season.
You
know, I'm going to hound you about that. But
yeah, anyways. I mean, when I'm right, I'm right. I mean,
yeah. We'll see about that.
Jesus, this camera.
And then, of course, I couldn't decide on my coaches, so I just went with Michel Bergeron and Mark Crawford.
Okay, well, we'll talk
see why later.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll talk later.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's go to the second team. This is our second all-time team for the Colorado Avalanche.
Okay, so how do you want to do it? Okay, my left wing is Alex Tanguay.
Okay,
I just think overall, just one of the more solid left wingers in the game.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
You know, again. You said it yourself, somebody who could be bottom six, and you can just slot him right up in top six, no issue.
You know the thing with Alex Tanguay was he got overshadowed a lot by all the star power that those Colorado teams in the 2000s had.
Oh yeah.
You know, if he was playing on another team, he would have probably been first team all-star,
first line center,
first line, the works.
The all-star game. He would have been the star. Like if he was in the Islanders at that point, like he probably would have been the best player in the Islanders.
Right. Well, I'll give you. You want to just go back and forth? I'll give you my left wing.
Give me your left winger.
My left wing is Gabe Landeskog.
Okay.
Gabe Landeskog. Cannot take away his contributions at all. I mean, he's been incredible.
I disagree.
He's got 738 games for the franchise.
I disagree with where you placed him.
You do, huh?
I do.
Well, I'll give you his stats real quick. He's got 248 goals, 323 assists for 571 points. He's been the captain for, 5-6 years now?
Wait, I think like 7, 8.
I was going to say, got him maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
The leadership qualities are unbelievable with this guy. So he definitely slots in as my second line.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. I'll just go with my center so we can get more correct words on the being spoken. My center is Peter Forsberg.
Okay. Well, mine is Peter Stastny.
See, again, wrong. Right first name, you were almost there. You got halfway there, Scott.
I'll tell you why. Peter Stastny had such an impact on the game because people forget when he defected in 1980, he was actually putting his life on the line.
Oh, yeah.
Over here. And the amount of pressure that was on this guy was unbelievable. And did he produce? Oh, you bet he did.
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for the Gretzkys and the Yzermans of the world, he would have been walk away with the Art Ross Trophy in the early 80s.
Year after year, yeah.
Right?
I agree.
He played 737 games for the Nordiques. 600, I'm looking at it. Okay. 380 goals, 668 assists. He got over 1,000 points.
That's nothing to It's nothing to scoff at. But unfortunately, I think when you put skill and skill, Peter Stastny, Peter Forsberg next to each other, they kind of even out, right?
Yeah, but you know what that pushed it over the edge for me for Stastny? Joe Sakic. Because Peter Forsberg had Joe Sakic there, right? It was a great 1-2 punch. But when you're playing those Colorado teams that have got Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg, who are you going to put your best centers on? I'll tell you what, right now, a lot of times they were going to obviously be with Sakic. So that's not to take anything away from Peter Forsberg because he's a phenomenal player. But all I'm saying is that Peter Stastny did not have a Joe Sakic around to take some of the pressure off.
No, he didn't. But
that's what I'm saying.
I feel like he did also have other aspects to keep the pressure off. Maybe Ronnie Hextall.
Lack of 80s defense, maybe?
Lack of 80s defense. He had Ron Hextall to throw the punches. He had the Hunters to protect him.
Oof. Oh, boy. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't. I wasn't born yet. But
right. Well,
but I've seen the videos. The old Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah, exactly. All right, give me your right wing.
My right wing, and this one's going to be a controversial take, Claude Lemieux.
Yeah, I can understand that. I wrestled back and forth with Claude Lemieux on this.
I think Claude Lemieux, he gets the bad rap for a reason.
Right.
He plays on the edge. He doesn't tiptoe the line of dirty and clean. He is over the line on the dirty side, but he was a great leader. If you hear young players talk about Claude Lemieux, they all say he was hard, but he's like the dad of the team.
Right.
And it's like he demands discipline and respect to the senior players who've been there and done that and taught these young kids how to be pros. So when you put a young player like Chris Drury on the same team as Claude Lemieux, you got to think that shaped him a little bit.
Right. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, hard to disagree with that. I don't know. For me, obviously, Claude Lemieux had a lot to do with the cup. I mean, yes. You're right about that too. Cups do talk. I don't know. For me, yeah. Of course, you always think of Claude Lemieux as an Avalanche because of the Red Wings, but you also think of him as a New Jersey Devil.
As a Devil,
there's all that. So I went with Matt Duchene, and I know you're going to laugh, but Matt Duchene, as bad as his attitude got towards the end, especially, and boy, did he pay the price for that, because as soon as they traded him is when they started pulling out of the tailspin.
His best years for Colorado.
But he still had 178 goals and 250 assists for 428 points with him in, 580 games. So, and again, I take it into the context of the teams that he was playing on at the time. So he was the star on a team that was really struggling. So there's got to be something to be said for that. But you know what? You do have a point when you say with the Cups and all that. So how about our defense? Who you got on D?
Okay, and this is also my first one is going to be very much subject to change. He's going to be moving up very soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 years. Cale Makar.
Okay, I can understand that. And I left Cale Makar completely off my list just because he's played, 2 seasons?
4.
He's been there 4 already?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem it.
Yeah, I think he's been there 4 years.
I don't know, but
I'll YouTube this, right? I'll Google this right now. I'll Google.
This almost feels like a courtroom.
I'll Google this.
Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, my YouTube video of Cale Makar.
4 years, 2018-19. First year.
Oh, he's been there a while then. I thought he had been there shorter than that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I could be convinced on that one.
So Cale Makar, and he's obviously, to me, subject to change. He will be moving up the list, I would say, in the next couple of years. And my next one is Sandis Ozolinsh.
Yeah, you know what? That's who I got.
Wow, we agree on something.
That's who I got as one of my you know what? I mean, I left Makar out because I didn't think he was there that long. But Sandis Ozolinsh, you know what? He's got a cool name.
Oh, I love his name. Just a hockey name all around.
I know, right?
Sandis Ozolinsh.
But you're right. I mean, you know what? In his time, he was one of the premier offensive defensemen in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I mean, he's one of those guys. Sometimes I think of him as a shark.
Yes.
But he did a lot of his damage when he was with the Avalanche. He did play 333 games for him, and he had 253 points.
Yeah. Oh, he was really good. Honestly, to me, one of the best offensive defensemen of his era.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you had players like Ray Bourque there, and Ray Bourque in the league. And I really can't think of another offensive defenseman from the late 90s besides Nick Lindstrom, Ray Bourque.
I can because
because
we agree on Ozolinsh, and my second D is Rob Blake. Rob Blake gets forgotten about.
No, not for me.
So
he's somewhere else.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, you know what? similar stats to Ozolnik. And your dog agrees with me too.
1 second, Scott.
But yeah, I mean that's for sure. Rob Blake, the leadership alone too. I mean, he was a tremendous leader on those teams.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
So, all right. Well, it looks like we're sort of starting to agree. This is kind of scary. So,
don't worry, it's going to stop.
Let's start
soon.
arguing about a goaltender.
Yes. Again, like you said before, goaltending not the greatest in Colorado history.
No.
I mean, you got one guy, and then the rest is kind of
pretty much
kind of flip floppy. But I put David Abisher.
Okay.
I liked David Abisher. I thought he was a good goaltender in his career. And Colorado, I mean, he just played there, so I had to slide him somewhere.
Yeah.
I had to slide him.
Honestly, I kind of forgot about him.
I really, like, you put a gun to my head, I can't think of 5 Colorado goalies.
Well, I went with Semyon Varlamov.
See, to me, I don't think he was there long enough. And
He was there 5 or 6 seasons.
was he there 5 or 6 seasons?
Yeah. So, I mean,
he's been there that long.
And again, he was another one of those guys that played. He was a great goaltender who played on some really subpar teams,
Really bad teams.
But he kept them in a lot of games. So
yeah, he did. I'll give you that. I think I definitely overlooked Semyon Varlamov, but like we said earlier, goaltending is just
I mean, listen, there's not much to argue about here. So it's
you could have said. You could have put Ron Hextall there for his Nordiques days, and I would have been like,
sure,
he was there.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? How about your coach?
My coach is I can't pronounce his name. He's the current coach,
Jared Bednar.
Jared Bednar. I knew his first name was Jared. I couldn't pronounce his last name.
Yep,
but
Bednar.
To me, just
Bedrock.
Yeah,
like the Flintstones.
You old guy. But Cubs talk. I mean, again, coaching in Colorado history, also kind of a subpar thing to talk about. Patrick Waugh was non-existent. Really, who else? Peter Laviolette, I think, was there for a little bit. Just
very briefly.
Very briefly. Just not great. Just not great coaching.
No, that's you know what? I actually had Bob Hartley. So Bob Hartley's got the most career games as a Colorado coach in the playoffs.
Oh.
And he did win the Jack Adams Award. So yes, he did. So it's kind of hard to ignore that. But you're right about Bednar. He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear this name again too. So
I got somebody else as my other coach.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what then. Without further ado, why don't we move on to our first team then?
Yes.
Why don't we do that?
All right.
And let's start with the coach this time, because since we're talking about coaches, I want to hear who yours is.
Mark Crawford.
Mark Crawford. Oh, hey, led them to their first cup.
Yep. Mark Crawford, a solid coach, had a bit of a controversial style of coaching, known to kick his players. And things like
he
that,
definitely.
But he also had a substance abuse issue and, got over that, cleaned himself up. And once he really figured it out, he got his act together. You notice his personality changed. He became a better coach, was better towards his players. Just overall, like a good story and a great coach. And I think he deserves another shot in the NHL if he wants it.
Okay. Well, that's, you know what? You're right. I mean, he did clean himself up. There's no doubt about it. Learned how to calm down a little bit with players, because that was, and it's funny. We were just talking about this the other night on the other show that I do, 315 Hockey Live, and just how much it's changed now from, back then it was, the coach was like the iron-fisted ruler. Yeah. Right? And you'll do this just because I told you to do this. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. Whereas now, players are much more inquisitive. They want to know why they're doing stuff, and they want to know why, what is this drill teaching us, that kind of thing. So, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all, because I think it creates, it creates more hockey IQ.
Yes.
So rather than just don't do as I say and that's it. Yes. It's great to actually know why you're doing something, because then you can sit there and you can think about it too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like, to me, like, coaching is such a vital aspect of the game. You know, even though we're talking about professionals here and they know how to, each one of them know how to play hockey. You know, it's the way they put together schemes. They put plays together. They quarterback a power play. I mean, that's really what the coach is supposed to do. And when you have a coach that's ruling with an iron fist, I don't know. We'll say Alain Vigneault,
Right.
You know, the biggest idiot the game has ever seen. There's a reason why his teams are successful for 1 year and then absolute crap the next 7.
Yeah, well, he burns them out.
He burns them out. And, you know, Mark Crawford has learned his lesson, and I think Jared Bednar is going to be a great coach because he's actually more into the education of this is why we're doing this more than do what I say or be benched.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I just like I said, it's a whole new era, and again, it's not a bad thing for the players to understand why the coach is doing what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'll tell you what, I went with Jared Bednar.
I respect that.
He's been there since 2016. He's got the most games coached as a Colorado Avalanche coach now.
Oh, does he really?
In the regular season. Yeah, he does.
Wow.
And if you think about it for a second, he came aboard, like, you know, we were just talking about this, like 5 years ago, that team was in the toilet.
Oh, they were a dumpster fire.
But you know what? Credit management, credit Joe Sakic for sticking with him and saying, no, we know we got a problem here. It's not the coach.
Yeah.
We're going to fix this. And sure enough, he stuck with him, and now look.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so for a coach to be able to survive being in those lean years like that and stick with the team, because especially in today's, you know, world, we want results now. And if you don't, you're gone.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the days of the old school coaches sticking around for, you know, 15, 20 years just on their name is over.
Yeah.
You gotta prove it every single year. Yeah. That's over. That's all over.
Honestly, like, the problem with Colorado lied in their locker room, did not lie with the coaching. And Joe Sakic figured it out. I think if we throw a GM on this list, I think Joe Sakic's the greatest GM.
Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt. No, that's not even a question.
Oh yeah.
Not even a question. I've always loved Joe Sakic.
Oh,
how do you not like Joe Sakic?
Top 5 of my favorite players of all time. I don't know where he is, but he's in there.
Absolutely. It's so awesome. All right. So anyways, why don't we scroll down to, let's go with our defense.
Okay.
Let's do our Ds.
My D is Adam Foote.
Oh yeah.
And Rob Blake.
Okay.
Just 2 solid defensemen, big guys. You're not moving them from in front of they're moving you from in front of the net with ease, and they're putting the puck in the back of yours.
Yeah.
Like, just overall, just 2 solid defensemen. Adam Foote with the team forever. Rob Blake, I think didn't he get a second cup, or didn't he get another cup with Los Angeles?
That was LA. He was on the management team.
Yeah, so he was on the so the guy just knows hockey.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about it. And those are great choices, because I obviously went with Adam Foote, because when I think of Colorado Avalanche or Quebec Nordiques defensemen, the first name that pops into my head is Adam Foote.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. And I wanted to put Rob Blake on that first line. I did. Because, I mean, I'll admit, you know me, I'm a Kings fan. So obviously I'm a Rob Blake fan. But with Rob Blake, I think of him as an LA King. I think of him as a Colorado Avalanche. I try to forget the time that he went to San Jose.
Yeah.
Really made
that was weird.
Angry. Oh,
that was weird.
Yeah, it was. Very weird. And you're going to laugh at mine because, like I said, we agree on Foote. Do you know who the all-time leading scorer amongst defensemen for the Colorado Avalanche Quebec Nordiques franchise is?
No.
You're going to laugh. It's Tyson Barrie.
Is it really?
It's Tyson Barrie, and it's crazy. He's got 75 goals, 232 assists for 307 points as a Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, God.
He played 484 games for him.
That's just...
So just based on that alone, and just because, like I said, I think of Rob Blake as an LA King more or less than anything else, I went with Tyson Barrie. I couldn't believe it when I looked at that. I'm like, there's no way. That's not possible.
I mean... the guy makes his living now passing the puck to McDavid and collecting second assists.
And but now he's hurt all the time too.
Yeah, he's hurt all the time, and he still gets second assists. And the guy's just going to be a Hall of Famer just on who he could pass the puck to.
Yeah, but you know what though? When like McDavid and Draisaitl and all those guys, one of the board stanchions can get a secondary assist. Okay, I mean that's
yeah, you can get a secondary assist.
I know. Well, let's not get carried away. And I want to know who your number one all-time left wing for the Colorado Avalanche Quebec Nordiques franchise is.
Gabriel Landeskog.
There it is. Wow.
I think
right with Gabe.
Yeah, I think he's a great leader. I mean, he's one of those players that puts the team on his back. And he gets help with it. Like he makes his teammates want to run through a wall for him. So it's hard to deny the aspect that Gabriel Landeskog's a great leader. He scores at will. The guy's just overall great. And I mean, he's going to be a Colorado Avalanche till he retires.
Well, yeah, he is now with that contract.
With that contract, yeah. No other team's going to.
There's no way.
Even if they wanted to trade him, they can't.
Not happening. So for mine, I went all the way back to the Quebec days.
Okay.
And I went with Michel Goulet, who, to me, was one of the most underrated goal scorers of the 80s era. Now, I understand that a lot of goals were scored then.
Yes.
But Michel Goulet, during the 80s, was an animal. He had, I think it was like 6 straight seasons of 40 goal seasons. 6 straight. He had a couple of 50-goal seasons in there. Just a machine as far as putting the puck in the net. But he was kind of forgotten playing in Quebec because obviously they didn't get a lot of the press that, had he been playing in one of the big markets, say like New York or Montreal or Chicago, Detroit, whatever. But he played 813 games for the Nordiques. And he scored 456 goals.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, I understand that the 80s were wide open, but still, you can't ignore 456 goals.
No, you don't do that by accident.
No, not at all.
I respect that. I respect that choice.
Yeah, I mean, and he's in the Hall of Fame, so you know what?
You got there for a reason.
Exactly. Got to go with him. I think our center choice is pretty obvious.
I think so, too.
I don't think that either one of us, even in our worst day, would ever not pick Joe Sakic.
Yeah, Joe Sakic.
Mr. Colorado Avalanche, Mr.
Barnaby Joe.
Franchise. Just call him the franchise and be done with it.
Yeah, he's Barnaby Joe. He's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a doubt. But we might have a little bit of difference of opinion on the right wing.
Milan Hajduk.
No, we don't. No, it's, you know what? He's got the most games played in Colorado Avalanche history.
Oh, the guy has stayed there forever.
Yeah.
He is Mr. Colorado Avalanche. Like, Joe Sakic, great and all. Milan Hajduk played 15 years for the Avs?
Yeah, he played 1,020 games.
Yeah. So just shy of 15 years.
Yeah. It's incredible. And he's got a really cool name, too.
Wicked cool name.
Hajduk.
Wicked cool name.
Or as we used to call him when we were younger, Hedgeduck.
Hedgeduck. I think it's also safe to say goaltending is the same.
Probably. I can't imagine neither one of us not picking Patrick Waugh because, you know what? Even the dearth of goaltending behind. Ugh.
Yeah. Bad.
I mean, forget about the cup wins. Even if just Patrick Waugh just showing up. That's it.
Yeah.
As soon as he got off the plane, as soon as he landed in Denver the first time, okay, that's it. You're the best goaltender in the franchise history.
Yep. And he dangled Gretzky.
Yeah, the wink. The wink. You have no idea how mad that made me. Oh my God, that wink. I'll never forgive him for that 93 final series. Never. Because if it wasn't for Patrick Waugh, the Kings would have won that cup.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never convince me otherwise. Never. Well, you know what? That was fun. It was fun. And you know what, though? It makes you realize just how there are some franchises that are just really strong down in certain positions. And then others, even if they've been around for almost 50 years, you just look at wow, how did you never develop a true number one goalie?
Yeah.
In almost 50 years. How did you not do it? Well, if you notice too, you're watching on the YouTube channel, or as of course as Ed can see, I'm actually in my garage because as we talked about earlier, the COVID monster went around, and I really didn't want to infect Dave the Save, so I'm going to end up sending this file over to him. So now that we've got our all-time teams out of the way, when you listen to this on the audio replay on the podcast, you're going to hear a commercial on this spot, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do a 2022-23 Colorado Avalanche season review.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city and the area. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our country music streaming radio station, or sign up for a weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
So they did win the cup. Well deserved. It was a hard fought series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It really was. The very fact that it was all everything that it was billed to be, because that series, that Tampa Bay Colorado series, was billed as the establishment versus the young lions, so to speak.
Yes.
And it was everything, like I said, everything it was supposed to be, and it was great. However, we're into a new season, and of course, changes are made in the off season now that Colorado's got to start paying some of these players that have stepped up and just given them the world.
Yes.
Cal McCarr got paid. Nate McKinnon got paid.
Nate McKinnon got paid
$12.6 million per season. Wow.
Yeah, he's going to see about 6.2% of that.
Yeah,
or 6.2 million of that. Freaking Gary Bettman's a joke.
Well, you're right. As far as, obviously he's not going to see all that 12.6. But I don't know if you saw it or not, but they're already projecting next year the salary cap's going to go up $1 million, and then it goes up crazy money.
Yeah, because they'll be finished with the
money kicks in. So
yeah, they'll be finished paying that extreme arbitration to just go back to normal arbitration, or not arbitration, escrow.
And then it goes up $4 million and another $4 million after that. So it's going to be up to like $90 million in a few seasons. So you know what? Contracts like Nate McKinnon's, Cal McCarr's are going to be easier to absorb. But for the time being, the cap crunch cost them their starting goaltender from that Cup team, Darcy Kemper, and it also cost them Nazem Kadri.
Yes.
Who's fantastic for him. So, Ed, what do you see for the Colorado Avalanche in this coming season?
So it's not what I see from the Colorado Avalanche more or less than what I see from the rest of the division, right? So I don't see Dallas being great. I don't see Arizona doing anything. Who else is in that Central? You got
Nashville.
They're
the Minnesota Wild.
Minnesota's going to make the playoffs. Nashville's going to might squeak in. It's really going to be down between St. Louis and Colorado.
So, you don't think Winnipeg's not going to do anything?
I think Winnipeg's going to sell the house. Winnipeg is a dumpster fire. I think they're finishing last in the league.
Right now, they got some problems because they just took their captaincy off of Blake Wheeler.
Well, there's also been known issues in the locker room now. Everyone's requesting a trade or saying they're not re-signing Pierre-Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele. Blake Wheeler is definitely going to get traded at the deadline. You can only assume that Connor Hellebuck is gone. So Winnipeg's a non-factor. Arizona's a non-factor. Dallas is a non-factor.
Chicago's playing for Connor Bedard.
Yeah, Chicago's playing for Connor Bedard. They're a non-factor. Minnesota, they're going to be teetering. I think they're going to make a playoff spot, but by the skin of their teeth, they're going to be third in the division. It's really down to St. Louis and Colorado. And St. Louis has some issues because now Tarasenko and O'Reilly are up. So they're going to have to shed one of them by the trade deadline if they don't get them signed. And it's probably going to be Tarasenko. So there's that gone. So really, it's just Colorado's division in my eyes. Now, are they going to repeat as Cup champs? I doubt it. But I see them making a lengthy run, maybe to the conference finals. Other than that, it's going to be a good year for Colorado, but it's not going to be last year.
Okay. I don't think that the division title is a lock for them, to be perfectly honest with you. I think St. Louis did a very good job of getting sneaky young. Okay.
Yes.
They were starting to get old, and they actually did a fantastic job of starting to regenerate some talent. You got Jordan Kyrou there, who is fantastic, Robert Thomas. So they're doing a very good job of more or less switching it up on the fly. I don't necessarily believe that they're going to trade either O'Reilly or Tarasenko, especially if they're contending. I think they obviously keep them for the playoff run and then worry about that in the offseason. What are we going to do with them?
Yeah, I can see that happening. But
and another team that I think out of that Central Division that is actually going to be extremely dangerous is Minnesota.
I don't think
Minnesota has got a lot of good pieces in place.
But they also got a lot of cap spent on two players that are no longer there.
They do, but guess what? They managed to actually put that team together. Obviously, yes, they're in a cap crunch right now. Of course they are.
They're in cap,
but they've got enough talent on the ice to actually make some noise. The only thing that makes me worried about Minnesota is they're going to lean on Marc-Andre Fleury.
That's why I don't think
I don't know about that because how do you not like the Flower, of course? But he's 38 now?
He's getting up there in age. I think he's a phenomenal goaltender, and I think he's a Hall of Famer, and they give him every accolade in the world. He earned it. But 38 years old, his position, it's screaming pulled groin.
Yeah, and then what happens, right?
And then what? You have Cam Talbot in that? I mean, he's right, but
yeah. I know.
We got a lot of players up in the air for Colorado. Matt Dumba. And it's really just it can be up or down for Colorado. They're really just to me a confusing thing.
I was gonna say you cut in and out of there for a second. That's okay because you almost sounded like the '80s video game. But I'll tell you, with Colorado, the loss of Kadri and Kemper is going to hurt, obviously. They brought Alexander Georgiev in from the Rangers, who, honestly, that's going to be the wild card right there because I always wondered how he would be as a starter.
I think Georgiev's going to do fine.
I think he'll be fine, but is he going to be Stanley Cup playoff fine? That's the question because,
don't forget.
They have Pavel Francouz, who and I know Avalanche fans love him. Pavel Francouz. But again, you're talking about two unproven commodities now, really. In my eyes, as far as the playoffs.
Well, Darcy Kemper was really unproven until last year.
Yeah, but Darcy Kemper at least had a little bit more of a regular season track record.
He did. But, they also had to kind of lean on Pavel Francouz during the playoffs. He did pull out a couple wins when Kemper was injured. Georgiev, he's unproven, but he's also a little bit proven. He's a solid goaltender.
Well, you know what the thing with him is? He's one of those guys, he's got to play a lot.
Yeah.
Because being a backup just wasn't for him.
No.
There are some goaltenders that can play once every 6 or 7 games and be just fine. There are other goaltenders, and it's the way things are, that, they got to play, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, day off, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, to stay in their rhythm, which I think is more or less fits the bill for Georgiev. Really.
And I think he'll see that in Colorado. Now, do I think he's going to get the Vezina anytime soon? No, but I think he's going to, with the defense in front of him, I think he'll do just fine with that defense. I think he'll be a solid goaltender because Colorado's a team that relies more on defense and goaltending, and history's proven that. Mm-hmm. Darcy Kemper, he had a track record in the regular season, but let's face it, that track record in the regular season was with Arizona, a team that's done nothing. and has done nothing for him. He goes to Colorado and has a solid defense in front of him. Oh, look at that. Saves are being made. I think we'll see that with Georgiev.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to dispute that because, again, it's very possible because, Georgiev, when he was actually played very well for the Rangers. He really did. And you mentioned the defense. Yeah, of course. I mean, when you got Cal McCarr in your defense and Devontae's, that's automatically, we lost Ed. But he'll be back in just a second. But, the thing is, too, Samuel Girard is still there, too. He's been phenomenal for him. And my biggest concern is Bowen Byram. Boy, I'm trying to spit that out.
Sorry, I hit a button.
Yeah, it's all right.
Buttons are bad. It's just I see them, I want to touch them, and then bad things happen.
Oh, boy. I can't imagine. Anyways, I was just saying that, Sammy Girard has been fantastic for him.
Oh, Sam Girard's phenomenal. Bowen Byram. I mean,
but the other thing with Bowen Byram, though, is, I mean, for as much potential as he's got, he's already on his second concussion.
Yeah,
third.
I mean,
there's that concern there. I think Kadri being gone is actually going to hurt them more than they think.
Oh,
Kadri. I think Alex Newhook's a fantastic young center they got, who played a lot of third line minutes for him last year. Offensively, I think he'll be able to pick the pace up for him. Defensively, what Kadri brought and that lockdown, that leadership, ability to get under players' skin.
It's
the intangibles that he brought. I don't know if that's going to be replaced or not.
And Nazem Kadri is one of the he was a hero during this playoffs, and I think he'll do great. And where'd he go? Calgary? Oh, he was going to do great in Calgary.
Playing for Daryl Sutter.
Oh yeah. He's a Daryl Sutter type player. But I think losing Kadri is going to be a huge hit. I mean, the points production was phenomenal, and he, like you said, he got under player skins. But he's as replaceable. He's not Nathan McKinnon. He's irreplaceable. You could find another Nazem Kadri in my eyes. I think you could find another player who can have his skill set.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
it's not unheard of. Like
I said, I think Alex Newhook is the guy who's going to step up to replace him.
Yeah,
but like I said, there's one Nazem Kadri.
Yes,
and so we'll see what happens there. But going right back to what we were saying, I guess I would say that they're the favorite to win the division, but not by a lot.
I think you're gonna see Colorado. I think you're gonna see Colorado pump out 106 points, win the division, with St. Louis with 102 points.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be that close. I think obviously it's going to be, Colorado, St. Louis, and Minnesota in those top three spots. The days of the Central Division taking both of the wild card spots are over.
No,
they might get one of them in Nashville.
That's going to be.
But Nashville, who knows with them? You're right. I mean, they seem to do things with smoke and mirrors. So who knows?
It's literally Roman Josi and Jussi Saros, and that's like Matt Duchene will pot a few. They have that new kid on their team, Tanner Jeannot, who I think is phenomenal. Yeah, but this is his second year in the league. So
you got Philip Forsberg. They did re-sign him. So the only problem with Forsberg is can he stay healthy?
So I think, and this is the Central Division for me, it's going to be Colorado, St. Louis, Minnesota, and that's it in the playoffs. I think you're going to see the Pacific really show up this year. I think you're going to see the Pacific with I think you're going to see a bounce back year from Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary, and the Kings.
Don't forget Vancouver. Vancouver is actually doing quite a bit too.
I really don't have much anticipation from them because we see this every year from Vancouver. It's they've improved a lot. They've improved a lot. They've improved in this.
But it's so fun
in this position, and then they fail every year. We're going to see that. We're going to see the Pacific shoot right up. I think Pacific. You're going to see Edmonton winning the division, Calgary in the second, Vegas in the third, Los Angeles taking a wild card spot, and if you really want to get wild, we could toss Vancouver in the other wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean the wild cards are going to be up for grabs. There's no doubt about it.
At least one of them.
I'll tell you, that Battle of Alberta is going to be phenomenal this year because Calgary is going to have such a chip on their shoulder from last year.
Well, I mean, the chip is gone. They traded him away.
But still, I mean, as a team,
they got Nazem Kadri.
You got Kadri, you got Jonathan Huberdeau, you got Mackenzie Weegar. Honestly, I think they're better this year than they were last year.
Yeah. You know what? I don't. I think they're one of the teams that stayed even. They changed some pieces. Gaudreau gone, so they bring in Huberdeau. You got Tkachuk gone, so they bring in Kadri, and then Weegar's really just that intangible that really amplifies it a little bit more. I think they stayed a little even, but I think that they're going to be a solid team.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, it all depends on can Jacob Markstrom stay healthy.
Yeah. Markstrom is the key there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
no
Markstrom,
doubt.
He's that X factor for him.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, hey, listen, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad to be back.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's great to have a voice again.
I know, right? And I know this is a sports history network, but I think we're going to have to make an instant history show. We'll have to do an NHL preview show very soon.
Yeah, no. Honestly, the season starts in 14 days?
Well, actually, it starts technically next week because the league threw a curveball, everybody, with the overseas games between the Predators and the Sharks.
That's right.
So for everybody else, the season starts on October 11th, but then and it screws everything up fantasy hockey wise too, because don't even get me started on that.
That's why I just don't do fantasy hockey. I can't. I get too competitive. I'll stick with fantasy football. I'll lose my $10 every week.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, that's all the time we got for today. Ed, again, it has been so much fun, and we're going to do an NHL preview show, but we'll have to come up with another best of the best soon.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, for Ed Stefanik, I'm Scott Kindle. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week on Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorium Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.